friends, welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Kim. I am an illustrator and also a bookworm. In this channel, I like to share things book related, illustration related, but mostly books. Today, I decided that I was going to read all day. I've been needing this sort of reset. I've had a lot going on, and I think just spending a day that is just reading is really going to be helpful. So I decided to just spend the whole day reading, well, at least as much as I can for the day. My goal is to try and finish a book today. Because I am a slow reader, this is also a challenge to help me kind of just better my pace at reading. And also because in a few weeks I am going to be getting married, and I know I'm going to be having a lot going on in the next few weeks. And so I kind of want to get through some of my favorite books that I really am anticipating to read this fall, at least as much as possible. We got the spooky vibes going on in my household. I got Mr. Oogie Boogie Man from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I just picked him up at Spirit a few days ago. I think he's so cute. I got my little skeleton earrings going on here, so really trying to set the mood for the spooky vibes. Sorry about the lighting. I'm in my living room and I'm near a window, so it's kind of weird. Today we are reading The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. I have been hearing so many great things about this book, and I've been really wanting to read this. My sister actually got this for me a couple of days ago. She surprised me with this book, and so I was so excited that she got me this book, and so I want to start reading it. So The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina, pretty much from what I've read, follows this family, the Montoyas, who Orquidea Divina is pretty much the matriarch of the Montoya family. Apparently she is dying, and so she sends letters to all her family members. She has like a very big family. I believe they're all from Ecuador, if I'm correct. And apparently also she's had like a variety of husbands. I think she's had like, I don't know, like 5 husbands or so. So apparently she's dying, and she sends letters to all her family members to come and pretty much witness her death, and also for them to collect their inheritance. But Orquidea Divina, from what I've read, she's been always like this pretty mysterious woman. I know they've called her a witch before, so there's always been like this mysteriousness to her. I think her family leaves Ecuador and moves to the United States, but wherever she settles in the United States, the townspeople call her a witch, and they say all these things about her. So there's like this mysticism to her. And like I mentioned, she has a pretty big family, but apparently when Orquidea Divina passes away, some of her family members also start dying one by one. So there's a lot of mysterious things going on, and I'm really curious to know what the heck is going on. When I started reading into this book, something about Orquidea sounded so familiar, which was what attracted me to this book. And I realized how much Orquidea reminds me of my grandmother from my father's side. My grandmother from my father's side, she's always been like very mysterious. I know she used to be a healer in Mexico, and she used to like read tarot and do all these kind of spells and enchantments. And I know she's also had like a few husbands, which to me, I'm just like, do your thing, girl. Go get what you want to go get. This book kind of reminded me of my grandmother, who is still alive and whom I love very dearly. So I'm very excited to kind of read this book and see what else kind of comes up for me. So yeah, I am giving myself 24 hours, or at least today. I don't know how long it would take me to finish a book. Usually a book takes me like a couple of days to finish it, because I only spend a few hours reading a day, if not maybe like 1 hour, which I'm trying to read more. I'm gonna challenge myself today to wrap up this book. It's 324 pages, which is not that bad. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of take you along and give you updates as to how like the book is coming along. All right, so I'm gonna get like a little moody playlist going on. I'm gonna make a little comfy place here in my couch, and I'm gonna start reading. It's currently 9:26. I don't know if you can see that. I think I'm gonna probably read until noon, and then maybe give you guys an update. So yeah, let's go. Okay, I don't care what anyone says, but if you need like a comfort playlist, I always opt out for like a Twilight playlist because their soundtracks are so good. I don't care. I don't care what anyone has to say. I'm gonna stand my ground. Like, Twilight has the best comfort playlist. And so on YouTube, I always go and search like Twilight playlist, and that's usually what I hear whenever I am reading. So that's what I'm playing here. And also because there was a little forecast going on in the morning, early in the morning, and now there's like sun. So I need some sort of autumnal vibes going on where it's just like misty and moody, because that's the kind of vibe that I want. Honestly, I'm about to like move somewhere where it's just like misty and cloudy all the time, because that's literally just what I want to be around. Okay, anyways, let's get to reading.
Way behind, but my heart's still burning. You're hard to find on these fields of gold. I'm staying out, 'cause my soul is sore. So just leave me out this time.
So I just finished reading the first 50 pages. Yeah, 50 pages of The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina. So I'm currently on chapter 6, and so far nothing drastic has happened. I've just been getting introduced to the characters of the story, pretty much like her family members. I really like that there is like this sort of ancestral tree that kind of tells you who is who, considering that Miss Orquidea Divina had 5 husbands, and it looks like from each husband she might have had like a few, well, not all of them, for the most part she had a few children from each one. So it's like a little family tree that tells you who is who, which I'm glad that she did this. I'm glad that the author did this, because without this I feel like I would have been so lost as to who she was like talking about in the book. But so far nothing drastic has happened. You definitely get a sense of all like the mystery of who Orquidea Divina is. Well, you don't really know anything much about her besides just like the outside factors, like where she's from. I just finished a chapter on like her mom. Her mom is Isabella Montoya. So far I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually really liking it. It's funny because I already knew this book was probably going to remind me of my family, and it definitely does, like as far as like the broad and big family, because I have a huge family. And so it's just funny, like you're getting introduced to some of the cousins and some of the aunts and kind of like how they are. So it's totally relatable for me personally. So I've been really enjoying it, and it just makes me want to keep reading, which I'm glad, because I've never done like an all-day readathon type of video or ever in general. And so I was really nervous going into this, because I was like, oh, I hope that I can stick to what I told myself that I was gonna do today. So I was very nervous about that, but I'm glad I picked this book, because it's making me want to continue reading and want to flip the pages. That's all the update I have for you on now. I'm gonna try and read like all the way up to page like 150. And I'll give you guys an update in a little bit. So I'll see you in another like 80 pages. Another quick update. I'm still not even to page 100, but this is already getting really good. Everyone's pretty much at this reunion already to witness Orquídea's death. And let me tell you, when they walked into that house, to Orquídea's house, the infamous house where she raised all her kids, where she had all her husbands. Let me tell you, when everyone came after they got the letter from Orquídea that they needed to come and collect their inheritance. I was shooketh to what they found when they got in. So it's getting good. It's getting really good, and I'm not even to page 100 yet. I'm gonna get back to reading, and I'm probably going to at least try and make it to page 100. So I'm on page 80 right now, so 20 more pages, and I'm probably gonna get something to eat or make something to eat because I'm starting to get hungry, and it is already 11. It is already 11. I forgot to mention some of my favorite characters already, and that is Marimar and Ray. They're cousins, which I feel who the main characters might be, even though like it's a pretty vast family. But I'm really enjoying Marimar and Ray's connection. Ray is super funny. I really like him. His name is Raimundo, but they call him Ray. And they're kind of like the, not the outcasts of the family, sort of in a way, but the ones that kind of just decided to do their own thing far away from like their home where they were raised, which is in Four Rivers. I'm not sure where it's at still. I think it's in Texas. But yeah, they ended up moving, Ray and Marimar, they ended up moving to New York, and that's kind of where they've been trying to just do their own thing. But I really love the relationship between those two. Super funny. It reminds me of the relationship that I have with my own sisters. You could feel like right now where I'm at in the book, they're all gathered to witness her potential death. You can feel the tightness in the air after all the family members have been gathered at Four Rivers, Orquídea's house, where everyone pretty much grew up in. You could feel the tension. You could feel the tension between all the family members. I don't feel like they all pretty much get along. I feel like a lot of them pretty much did go their own way. It feels like there was a lot of history going on at Four Rivers. Some that I kind of read about, but I'm not going to say in this video, and other things that I'm still kind of like confused myself in. There's a lot of secrecy going on, and I'm really curious to continue finding out what the heck is going on. So far, I really love Orquídea, like her character. She seems very strong, resilient, like she went through some really hard stuff. And so that kind of built really a strong character on her, which I feel like that's the case for many people that immigrate from other places around the world to come to the United States and try to make a living and set strong roots here in the United States. And I can totally relate to that, considering that my parents came from Mexico to the United States. I can totally see the comparison of how hard and how the struggle is to try and set roots in the United States when you come from a different place in the world. And you can totally see that in the characters, even in the cousins like Marimar and Ray, things that they've had to do in order to kind of prove even to their employers that they are worthy to have certain positions, and like how they had to navigate life as being a brown person. So you totally get a sense early on the hardships that brown people have to go through whenever they migrate from another place to the United States to try and set roots here. It's very difficult. So I really like that the author has been emphasizing that and has made it like a realistic thing. It makes everything like more believable, at least for me, because that has been my experience as well. So I really love that the author included that like real life experience onto this book, because it makes it all more believable. Anyways, I had forgot to mention that, so I was just coming back to just quickly say that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to reading. Toby. So I have made it to chapter 12, which is pretty much part 2. called Hibernation, and I am intrigued. I am pulled in. There is so much going on, but in a good sense, not in a sense where you're just like confused, in a sense where you just want to keep reading to find out what the heck is happening. I just want to say that this book is not what I expected it to be. I really thought that, oh, you know, I'm going into like the first couple pages, I'm like, oh, this is like a family that's like troubled. Like they have like drama, just like any family would probably have in their own household. So I really thought like that was gonna be like the theme that is going to be reoccurring. But honestly, this is like so much more, and I'm still kind of like, what the F is happening? I mean, if you read the back, you're already gonna know that Orquídea Divina is going to die, so I don't think that's like a spoiler. So I'm at a point where Orquídea already passed away, and the aftermath of that, I'm just like blown away as to what is happening. Also, I just want to say that I really appreciate the author Zoraida Cordova, because there's a lot of talk about generational trauma, and that to me is such an important topic, especially when it comes to Latinx households, where generational trauma is something that gets passed on through each generation. And so you could really see glimpses of that has happened here, especially because for the most part, the main character that we're following, I feel so far, is Marimar, who is the granddaughter of Orquídea. And you could really see kind of like the generational trauma cycles that have gotten passed down from grandmother to mother to daughter. And so I really appreciate that, because that is really real in Latinx households. I also really love that there is talk about colorism, because that is also like a very prominent issue in Latinx households. Like in Orquídea's story, there's glimpses being told of Orquídea when she was younger, and she is more of a brown, tanner skin tone person compared to her like step siblings, who are more lighter complected, and how they used to always pick on her because she was brown. And so that is very much real in households, as well as homophobia. One of the cousins, Ray, he is queer, and there has been homophobic remarks made onto him by family members, which once again, that is very common in Latinx households. So I really appreciate like the realistic issues that happen in a Latinx household, because it adds even more realism to the storyline. But besides all that stuff that's going on, we have mysteries going on, we have ghosts, we have magic and witchery going on, but still there's like so much that I still don't know, and we've already like covered a lot. Well, at least it feels for me like I've covered already a lot, and I'm only like on page 130. So I'm excited to see what the heck else we uncover. I feel a little angsty because I just want to find out what's going on. I feel like I'm not getting enough of what I want to know, but that's because I'm already a very impatient person. It's really hard for me to just kind of wait around for like the big boom in the story. That's where we're at right now. It is, let's see, it is 2:54. So I really need to get reading more, because there's 324 pages. So I've transitioned into my office, so this is where I'm gonna continue reading, and I'll keep you all updated. I've never read one book in one sitting, but I'm very proud of myself. Only 130 pages left, And it is, what time is it? 6:13. I think I could do it. And the story is good. Okay, let's keep going. Dobie is here with me. He's being a little rascal. He is great serotonin whenever I need a break. He likes getting on top of my desk. If you hear like loud noises, please excuse that. It's my partner. There's a basketball game right now and he's fanning out. Okay, can I just say that this book is literally knocking me off my feet. No spoilers, but all I have to say is circus, love, betrayal, magic, secrets. There's so much going on in a good way, and I feel like I'm getting more of a sense of getting to know Orquídea Divina and who she was and how she came to be the way she is in the beginning of this story, which I really like because she's really portrayed as this mysterious, serious, angry person. And later on in the book, you really get to know what happened when she was a girl, in her adolescent years. Sorry, English is not my first language. In her adolescent years. So you really get a feel for Orquídea. And I really appreciate that because I'm getting to know who Orquídea, the young girl that she once was, who she was, right? And the layers that ended up building up to be the Orquídea that you first meet in the beginning of the story. That's all I have to say for now. I have about like 80 pages left to go and I'm just like, wow. I'm in the betrayal part of the storyline. I'm not gonna give obviously details because I don't want to give anything away, but I dislike her first husband. I really dislike him. Like, he was shitty. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm like, I'm almost there. I think I'm doing good timing. I will see you next at our little wrap up that I do towards the end of this video. I'm sleepy, but I finally finished the Inheritance of Orquidea Divina. It is now 10:09. Probably can't see that, which is not bad considering that I started this at, I forgot what time I started this. I think it was like 9 something. So not bad. I did take some breaks in between, but wow, that was quite the experience. I've never read a whole book in one day. I literally read for a handful of hours today, like for sure more than 10 hours today. I am really happy that my first experience of doing a sort of like readathon for one whole day. I'm so glad that I chose this book because it was intriguing. It really kept my attention and I kept wanting to read more and more. I will say that the book has a very solid start, and even throughout the entire book for the most part it's like very solid. It kept me really interested in the whole storyline. I really love the mystery that it kind of portrayed because the mystery is kind of what kept me wanting to read more and wanting to find out what was happening. I will say that towards the very end it did get a little bit not confusing, but a little too wrapped up in fantasy, I guess. I think because this book carried a lot of like real life scenarios, especially things that I was able to relate to in a sense because I'm a first generation Mexican woman. And so a lot of like family traits and cultural traits I was able to relate to because this family is also from Latin America. So because it carried a lot of like realistic traits, I found it really hard at the type of ending that it had. It got really wrapped up in this like fantasy sort of world that I had a really hard time getting into the last part. I mean, it still kept my interest just because I wanted to keep finding out more, but I had a hard time kind of believing it, I guess. I mean, the whole book in general, you can kind of tell like there's some sort of magical type of stuff going on, but the type of magic, there is like a sort of shift towards the end of the book. I would say like the last 80 pages or so, there is the magic, and it kind of shifts. It becomes more of this fantasy type of magic that you find it kind of hard to believe, because to me, like witches and magic and all that, like in my culture, is very much something that I believe in. Like I don't even find it as like fantasy or fictional. That is something that is very much rooted in like Latin culture, the magic and the witches and the brujas and the brujos. And so that to me was, even though like the story kind of had like that beginning where you're like, oh, there's like some sort of magic going on, especially by like the little traits of like what Orquídea Divina, the things that she does, and the sort of remedies and magical remedies that she knows of, that is very much rooted in Latin culture. I think the character development is really good. Also, you really get to know these characters, and you really get to find out who you vibe with and who you kind of just don't. I really also love the storyline of Orquídea Divina. Like I mentioned, I think somewhere along this vlog, how you meet her in the beginning of the story as this very strong and resilient and even angry person, but towards the end you really find out her roots. You really find out how she came to be and what her storyline is and why she is the way that she is. At the beginning of the story, you'll probably think that she's just like a bitter woman. You really end up knowing a lot about Orquídea towards the very end of the book. You really feel for her and her story and her resiliency and the things that she had to endure in order to pave her way around the world. I think this novel is also very like family oriented, which I also love, because that's like a very big theme in Latinx households, where family is like a very important thing. And so I really love that this is pretty much like the emphasis of this book. And just like any family, the Montoya family here in this book, you know, has their own struggles. There's people in the family that don't like each other. There's people in the family that completely just ignore each other. But just to me, this really resonated, because for me, that was something that was very much implemented while growing up. It's like family is everything, and family is even the ones that could hurt you. Family is the one that can nurture you back into being. Family is love. Family is all this encompassing beautiful thing. And so I really love how family was very much implemented on this novel. And as well, like I mentioned, I feel like there was a lot of other things that were implemented that are true to Latinx households, like the colorism, the homophobia, the struggle of like migrating from a different country and trying to set roots here in the United States. I think for me, that's what made it more intriguing, is that you have all these like real life struggles that are happening, but also you have like these magical events that are happening. So I really love how the author Zoraida Cordova integrated those components into the novel. The writing was really, really good as well. I feel like it was very easy for me to read. I think Zoraida Cordova writes very beautifully. I really love her writing style, and I will definitely be reading more books from her in the future. I will say that one of my favorite things about this book was how much it really reminded me of my grandmother and even my mother. For me personally, being a first-generation Mexican indigenous woman, I grew up around adults and elders who really barricaded their stories and didn't really share the history of where they came from, because it was hard for them to speak about the past and what they had gone through. And so this story really much made me open my eyes to that, about how some pasts are really hard to talk about. I guess it'll all make sense once if you read this or if you read this, just because Orquídea Divina was the same. She really did not tell much of her history to her children or to her grandchildren. They really had to like do some researching on their own. And so this really like reminded me of like my grandmothers, of my own mother, where they are only willing to share as much as they're capable, because the rest is really like hard to talk about. And I can also see how some of those experiences, especially if they are traumatizing or very hard experiences, can really shape someone to become very cold. I don't know if that makes sense, but become very cold in a way where you just don't let people in. You become in a way sort of bitter, and you show no emotion. There's probably a word for it, but if you catch my drift, then you probably know. But I see this a lot, especially with people who migrate from another country to here, their experiences of like either fleeing or that migration from their homeland to here, how that can become very traumatizing, or whatever they might have experienced, how that can mold them into becoming like these very strong and resilient people. But also they do not let people in, they do not let themselves love or show any sort of emotion. My grandmothers are very much, both of them are very like of strong character and very tough and resilient, which to me are qualities that come in handy whenever you need to survive, especially if you come to a different country. And so of course those things are shaped by your experiences, and so I see that quite often, as much as I've seen that in Orquídea Divina. I hope that makes sense, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is that like how much our experiences pretty much shape this strong character into people, especially people who migrate from other countries. And so I really love just the symbolism there, but also it was very much interesting to see all of these things that are very much real things that happen in Latinx households, also interwoven with this fantasy world that Zoraida Cordova created. So yeah, there were a lot of elements that came into play, which I thought they were done very beautifully, but because of the very realistic elements that did play a role, I had a hard time kind of getting into the even more fantasy world that Zoraida created towards the end of the story. So that was my only thing, and for that I am gonna give it a 4 stars, but I think this is still very much worth the read. I think this is a very cool and interesting story. It's definitely gonna keep you wanting to just keep reading and wanting to keep turning the pages. And I will definitely be reading more of Zoraida's work. I am so sorry for this weird lighting. It is really late and I am in my office and I have my little office light on, and it gives off this warm tone. Anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. This was quite the journey, reading a whole book in a day. I'm very much proud of myself, I do want to say, and I want to give myself a pat on the back because I've never done that. This has been my first time doing this. I just want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that maybe you get inspired to pick up something and challenge yourself to read a little bit more. Also, I really hope that you do pick up the Inheritance of Orquidea Divina if you haven't already, or if you have read it, let me know your thoughts down below. I would love to hear your opinion on the Inheritance of Orquidea Divina, and we can chat about it down in the comments below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please, if you haven't done so already, I would really love it if you subscribed, if you comment, if you liked this video. That really helps out my channel. It helps for YouTube to pick up my videos and with the YouTube algorithm, so it really goes a long way. And I have a goal to try and make it to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm slowly but surely getting there, and so I would really appreciate you if you would do that. But for now, friends, I am going to leave you all. I am going to go and put on some pajamas and just go relax and relax my eyes because I've been looking at a book literally all day. So until then, I am wishing you a great rest of your day or night, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.